Selecting an insurance provider for your business is a big decision.
We know how important your company is to the community.
Alford & Associates can manage your insurance. It's our job.
Alford & Associates, benefiting your employees and protecting your business.
Good evening and welcome to this episode of Louisiana and Beyond.
And this week we bring you the origins and current makeup of the North Lafourche Conservation Levee and Drainage District.
Tonight's program will feature the historical perspective from the Levee District's Executive Director Dwayne Bourgeois and Board President Cory Kief.
Also joining us on the show this week will be Nick Matherne and Stevie Smith.
And in our guest segment this week, Ben Bordelon provides the latest on Bollinger Shipyards, as well as he's going to reminisce about LSU football into his upcoming Hall of Fame induction.
All of this and more coming up tonight on Louisiana and Beyond.
Louisiana and Beyond is brought to you in part by Edison Schwest Offshore, Bollinger Shipyards, Crosby Tugs LLC, Grand Isle Shipyard, Nichols State University, and Sea Level Construction.
In a world where you can choose to be anything, who do you choose to be? At Nichols State University, with over 70 distinct degree programs, we believe our students can be anything. Be an artist, a chef, a journalist, an educator, a lifesaver. But no matter what you choose to be a colonel. Be more at Nichols State University.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
At GIS, putting people first has always been our thing. As we always say, our people are our most important assets. With over 20 office locations, we deliver innovative solutions across 4 key markets: energy, industrial, infrastructure, and power. Our 4 main service groups house over 20 service capabilities, supporting projects from start to finish. We're proud of our legacy and even more excited about what's ahead.
Welcome to Bollinger Shipyards. For nearly a century, our family of skilled shipbuilders has driven innovation and excellence, creating some of the world's most advanced vessels. Today, we are at the forefront of our industry and redefining the future of naval warfare. At Bollinger, we turn challenges into opportunities and careers into legacies. Here, you're part of something bigger. Any yard can build a ship. We don't just build ships. Together, we're building the future.
Welcome back to Louisiana and Beyond. Tonight we explore the inner workings and history of the North Lafourche Conservation Levee and Drainage District.
Its Executive Director Dwayne Bourgeois not only takes us back to its formal beginnings in the early 1990s, but even quite a few decades before.
Actually, in Louisiana, you had 2 Well, three very, very old levee districts, 140-year-old type levee districts: Lafourche Basin Levee District, Atchafalaya Basin Levee District, and Tensas Basin up north. And at some point, probably based off of one in 1985, where we had a lot of flooding on the west side of Bayou Lafourche, there was a movement to carve the North Lafourche Levee District, North Lafourche Conservation Levee and Drainage District, out of the Atchafalaya Basin Levee District, and it formed in 1992, but it didn't really get going well because the commissioners were from both sides of the bayou, and so it's back and forth on that. So you could say by 95 and 96 it really got rolling, but again, exclusively on the west side of Bayou Lafourche. And it wasn't until Hurricane Katrina came in 2005 that changed everything. 2006 legislation basically said, well, we really need to carve the entirety of the northern portion of Lafourche Parish, the North Lafourche Levee District, everything above the Intracoastal, to be one levee district.
I think it was because everyone began to realize that the future could present the necessity to have flood protection for that region. And even though at that time, really, the district only composed of the western side of Bayou Lafourche. And through the years, I think that they annexed the eastern side of Bayou Lafourche in 2006 or 7 or 8. I think I joined the levee district in 2009, and they had just annexed the eastern side of the bayou, which is how I got on the board. I moved from South Lafourche to North Lafourche.
In the process of them breaking up a lot of the little fiefdoms in the levee districts around New Orleans, they created those two flood authorities, and they also carved us out of the Lafourche Basin Levee District on the other side of the bayou. So from that point on, it was the entirety of both the east and west side of Bayou Lafourche above the Intracoastal in Lafourche Parish became the jurisdiction of the North Lafourche Levee District. And I started doing some administrative work for them as a contract employee around 2007, 2008, and did that for a couple of years. And then the board asked me to become their full-time director, and I'd been doing that since March 1st of 2010.
The North Lafourche Levee District does not have the same system that South Lafourche has. South Lafourche has a ring levee system that encompasses all of South Lafourche, and we have levee systems that cover areas. It's not a big ring levee that protects the entire region. We do have some that are similar, but for instance, the levee system that we built from Lockport to La Rose is similar to South Lafourche, and the Morganza system that's being built from the Intercoastal on the eastern side of the bayou going to Lockport is going to be very similar to how South Lafourche is built.
In more recent years, when the Morganza to the Gulf project has come online and been much more successful getting projects on the ground, the northwesternmost portion of our levee is actually included in the Morganza to the Gulf alignment. And so we're working much harder and much more closely with the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District and the North Lafourche Levee District to be good partners in that project. We're doing a great job regionally of cooperating between Terrebonne Levee District, South Lafourche Levee District, North Lafourche Levee District, and into the future, not only for hurricane protection, but now that we have all these structures, we have a freshwater introduction project that in the next few years will be coming online from the Mississippi River in Donaldsonville, sending more fresh water down by Lafourche. We've been more proactive to look to the future to see how can we better operate some of these structures regionally to be able to make the best beneficial use of that fresh water.
We have 11 members on our board, and the way it works is every state representative who has an interest in North Lafourche has nominations to the governor. Every senator who has a vested interest in our region has a nomination to the governor. The parish has nominations that are chosen from the parish. So the parish government nominates, the mayor of Thibodeaux nominates, and the mayor of Lockport nominates, and that's what makes up the composition of our board. Now, the members on our board are very diverse, and we are very lucky that we have this diversity. We have a very good functioning board. We have good conversation, we have debates, but we still manage to do the best we can for our region. But I really love the members on our board are very, very, very productive.
Tried to show that we were good stewards of the money. I've got a fantastic board that lets us do everything we need to do, not just specifically here, but all of the peripheral topics that we have to push on because of our roles here. And that starts to get people to understand, well, we do need something. We need to get ahead of this. We don't want to be those behind the eight ball folks. And, we saw the successes in South Lafourche and Terrebonne. And that's what got us to be able to get some taxes passed, which is the catalyst for getting additional money.
And we'll hear more from Dwayne, Cory, and Nick later in the show, as well as Stevie Smith.
And in our guest segment coming up after the break, Ben Bordelon's success at Bollinger Shipyards, as well as his 4 years as a starter on the offensive line at LSU. We'll be right back.
At GIS, putting people first has always been our thing. As we always say, our people are our most important assets. With over 20 office locations, we deliver innovative solutions across 4 key markets: energy, industrial, infrastructure, and power. Our 4 main service groups house over 20 service capabilities, supporting projects from start to finish. We're proud of our legacy and even more excited about what's ahead.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drilled deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
Welcome to Bollinger Shipyards. For nearly a century, our family of skilled shipbuilders has driven innovation and excellence, creating some of the world's most advanced vessels. Today, we are at the forefront of our industry and redefining the future of naval warfare. At Bollinger, we turn challenges into opportunities and careers into legacies. Here, you're part of something bigger. Any yard can build a ship. We don't just build ships. Together, we're building the future.
Welcome back to Louisiana and Beyond. Tonight in our guest segment, we feature Ben Bordelon from Bollinger Shipyards.
And Ben starts by emphasizing the importance of a strong network of friends and business associates in achieving their impressive success.
And using that network of friends and relationships, and that's to me, that's how you gain a lot of progress quickly. Who can you lever to help us get to this point? And that may be a phone call that somebody makes to me that I can help make a contact with someone else, either on the state level or federal level or business level. But having that community of colleagues that are all striving to do growth in our area, that's how you start, making big wins and making headway. And look, our governor, you mentioned Jeff, and we talked about him earlier. He's wonderful at doing that. He's a bridge builder. He's a relationship encourager. He puts people in different strategic strengths together, and I think that's how you're a good leader. And I think it's our job, as I mentioned earlier, as a business leader, what can we do to help keep promoting that? But you're talking the same thing. If you're eating breakfast or you're shooting ducks or whatever you're doing, it's not always about just doing that. A lot of that is the camaraderie, but also there's usually an agenda. A lot of times I keep a little piece of paper in my pocket and I'll cover my bullet points that we need to get to. But again, that's how we're going to shape and continue to I think, move forward as a state.
Ben just recently learned that he will soon be inducted into the Bayou Region Athletic Hall of Fame.
And before his 4 years of success at LSU and then with the NFL's San Diego Chargers, Ben had much humbler gridiron goals.
Going back before I got to LSU, I remember, as a young kid, I would, my goal was to play at Central Lafourche. So a lot of people say, what was your goal when you were young? Central was good back then. Central had a good team. It was exciting times. Tommy Hodson was quarterback. And so it's funny, I had never even thought about LSU. I wanted to be able to go to Central and play under Bob Groh and have success there. Then that started having success, and I was fortunate. I started getting recruited, and when I got to LSU, there was no question about where I wanted to go. My mom hates to hear me say this. She wanted me to go to Tulane for the education, even though she's a tremendous Tiger fan. And obviously, I went to LSU. But once I got there, that point in time, that was some tough times too. That was the early Curly Holman era, and LSU wasn't as good back then as they are today, and in previous times with Coach Orgeron. And that 2019 season was phenomenal. But once I was at LSU, Martin, I was at LSU. And I was still peripherally involved, and my mom would come to obviously every game, and my uncles, and I knew what was going on at the shipyard, not into the detail that I obviously am now. So I was focused on that. And my grandpa, he was funny too, because he didn't really want me to play football at LSU. He was like, you need to come home and go to work at the shipyard and get moving. And he said I was going to get hurt and all of that stuff. And he was right. I did. I blew my shoulder out and did those things. But I don't regret 1 second of it. It was a building block of my life that I think was, I use as probably the biggest decision I ever made as a man. I ended up meeting my wife there, and made many of lifelong friends, and still today involved in LSU, obviously, and but very focused at that time. And my goal back then, I remember telling my mom, is that I don't want to just go to LSU. I want to play at LSU, and I want to be a contributor. And to see that transformation, I think we did some good things during that era. Kind of going from the bottom to going to 10 wins my senior year, and having some success. But some of the funnest times in my life were obviously at LSU, and then ended up going to San Diego for 3 years and played in the pros and did that. But I always knew I was coming back to the shipyard, and I was very fortunate that I didn't have that doubt or concern of what I'm gonna do after this. I knew I was coming back. I had the opportunity when I was in San Diego to go out with some of the other teammates. We flew out on the plane and landed on one of the aircraft carriers. Spent the night with some of the Navy there, and I had some buddies that were in the Navy that were helicopter pilots, and had a chance to touch them a little more during the time I was there. But yeah, look, it's exciting, and I'm a patriotic kind of guy. So it's I look at the working for the government. It's kind of like the whole team stuff, if you want to look at it like that, just on a much grander scale. So I feel like I'm part of our military in a different way, but supporting them is as I mentioned, a responsibility. And then watching the Navy and really the government transform right now, because I think about what the Navy used to be, and now with technology, and that's been the big change. You've had a tremendous change with technology. Autonomy has been a game changer in our government space, and we're seeing that now more and it's directly affecting the shipyard because the size of the vessels now has actually shrunk. So if you look at the Navy's size, and I don't mean number of vessels as much as I mean physical size, you can do a lot more on a mid-sized Navy ship because of technology, and that includes, autonomy piece, but it also includes the weaponry. The weapons are a lot different now, so what they're outfitting the ships with the payloads that they're putting on the vessels now, they could put on a smaller platform, frankly, that fit our shipyard in a great way. So it's exciting.
We thank Ben and Bollingers for their support and congratulate him on the recent announcement of his Hall of Fame induction.
And after the break, more on the North Lafourche Levee District.
Welcome to Bollinger Shipyards. For nearly a century, our family of skilled shipbuilders has driven innovation and excellence, creating some of the world's most advanced vessels. Today, we are at the forefront of our industry and redefining the future of naval warfare. At Bollinger, we turn challenges into opportunities and careers into legacies. Here, you're part of something bigger. Any yard can build a ship. We don't just build ships. Together, we're building the future.
At GIS, putting people first has always been our thing. As we always say, our people are our most important assets. With over 20 office locations, we deliver innovative solutions across 4 key markets: energy, industrial, infrastructure, and power. Our 4 main service groups house over 20 service capabilities, supporting projects from start to finish. We're proud of our legacy and even more excited about what's ahead.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drill deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
Tonight on the program, we're featuring the North Lafourche Levee District.
And Dwayne Bourgeois educates us on the Levee District's unique legal distinction and responsibility within Lafourche Parish.
All of the levee districts have different relationships with the parish. Inside of our levee district, we are actually a drainage and levee district, right? Now, there's an actual legal distinction between a levee district and a drainage and levee district, who puts all drainage issues into our charge. So our general agreement and responsibility with the parish is they're going to handle most of the roadside ditches and the little things like that. We're going to work on the bigger outfall channels, and we're going to work on the reservoirs leading to the pump stations. But in our cases, the pump stations are typically owned by the parish, although we've built several of them from the funding that we had because it might have been an issue adjacent to a levee or need to replace. So we sought funding for them, and then we hand the keys over to the parish, right? We actually got one we were about to do right now that we just completed, and they're going to operate and maintain. So there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 pump stations in North Lafourche area of different sizes and quantities. Most of them are operated by the parish. Some of them are private pump stations that are operated by landowners and things of that nature. But when it comes to the waterways and the levees, we have close to 200 miles of levees in our district of different sizes and different configurations. And you compare that to South Lafourche, which has a 68-mile ring system with 6 pumps. We've got 200 miles of levees inside of the parish, our part of the parish, and 60 pumps. And so it's an entirely different situation, and Morganza is coming in as the big boy.
There's a series of ridges in North Lafourche that somewhat interact. And again, it's unlike South Lafourche, which is basically a single bayou, and you provide protection around a single bayou. In North Lafourche, they have not only stuff along the bayou, but they have the stuff going up to Shag Bay and Choctaw and all that stuff, which gets very, I guess it gets very nuanced. And you know, Hurricane Francine, and there was one before that where we had all this rainfall up and around Thibodeaux. I mean, that's Dwayne and them are helping address those issues. But they have a multifaceted approach up there. I mean, it's really kind of overlapping systems and a lot of coordination with both the cities and towns in North Lafourche as well as with the parish. But it's much more of a unique situation up there. I think the benefit that they have is they have a little bit more elevation to deal with up there, a little bit more runoff naturally from the ground than you have maybe in South Lafourche, because South Lafourche is pretty low. But the complications of how the ridges all interact in North Lafourche creates a little bit more of a headache for Dwayne and those guys.
Regionally, in terms of progressing our projects forward, we've done a great job in recent history of showing a united front when we go up to Washington to meet with our congressional delegates, when we go to meet with FEMA, when we meet with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at their headquarters in Washington, D.C., to show that, you know, North Lafourche Levee District has their own charge and their own responsibilities and their own projects. So does South Lafourche, so does Terrebonne. But regionally, you know, storm surge affects us all directly, especially when you have a storm coming right up the border of Terrebonne and Lafourche. We're both directly affected. And so it's one of those no-brainers that it just makes sense for us to be as collaborative as possible.
Nick and I have worked together for a lot of different things. We still work together, and through the Association of Levee Boards, we're up there, but really you can say there is just not a lot of light between the workings of South Lafourche, North Lafourche, and Terrebonne. And I'm not excluding St. Charles and even Lafourche Basin, because we work very much closely with them, and St. Mary's on the other side as well. But as things, our projects grew, we've always had to work together, and so that's been South Lafourche has been a big benefit into the formation of North Lafourche.
And this Morganza system benefits Lafourche and Terrebonne. Okay, so you talk about funding, the levee districts along the coast when they were formed were afforded a constitutional millage automatically when they were formed, except for St. Mary's. St. Mary's didn't have a constitutional millage because they were formed after Hurricane Katrina, and that's when they changed the Constitution to allow for constitutional millages. And so St. Mary's voted there in, and there's some other levee districts in the coastal zone that did not pass millages, so they don't have funding. We also have local voted in millages, and for Lafourche and Terrebonne anyway we do. And we also have voted in sales tax. So we have several different sources of funding.
Our citizens are starting to understand some of those things, because there's a tendency to blame something that happened a long time ago and say, well, but something's wrong. Somebody changed something, because when I was a kid, we used to be able to go to the crawfish pond and open the drain at the end of the season and get a tractor in there. And now when you open it, there's a foot of water. Well, how long ago was that? Well, that was like 30 years ago when we were kids. Well, they're measuring the fact that we have subsidence at the rate at Grand Isle and Eugene Island, two of the highest subsidence rates in the world, which is tracked by NOAA over the past 100 years at close to 3 feet per 100 years. That's 1 foot in 33 years, right? And when you start to explain some of those things to people, they start to realize, well, we do need some protection here.
We thank our guests for joining us in our exploration of the North Lafourche Levee District.
And we thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week on Louisiana and Beyond.
Louisiana and Beyond has been brought to you in part by Edison Schwest Offshore, Bollinger Shipyards, Crosby Tugs LLC, Grand Isle Shipyard, Nicholls State University, and Sea Level Construction.